The launch of OpenClaw isn't just a new tool for your laptop, it is the final crack in the dam of U.S. economic statecraft. For years, Washington's strategy to contain China relied on a simple premise: cut off access to high-end chips and proprietary software through export controls. But open-source AI changes the game entirely. By making model weights public code that can run on any hardware, whether it is a consumer GPU or a smuggled server farm, the technical barrier to entry vanishes. The question isn't whether an adversary will get advanced AI. The answer is they already have, downloaded from GitHub before sanctions were even enforced. This video explains why openness has become the most potent loophole in modern economic warfare, and why states are now fighting over code instead of just silicon. To understand how this happened, we must look at the specific mechanics of containment that failed. On October 7th of 2022, the Biden administration finalized a policy explicitly designed to strangle China's AI growth by targeting 4 critical choke points: high-end AI chip designs, electronic design automation software used for circuit layouts, semiconductor manufacturing equipment, and various other critical components. The logic was sound on paper. If you cut off access to the physical tools required to train or run advanced models, your adversary cannot compete. This approach assumed that technology flows only when you buy it from approved vendors in a closed ecosystem where every transaction is tracked by customs officials. However, this strategy relied entirely on controlling hardware while ignoring the software layer. The reality of open-source foundation models creates a fundamental contradiction to these sanctions. Unlike closed systems like GPT-4, where access is gated by the provider's servers and requires constant permission checks, open weights allow end users to inspect, modify, and download underlying parameters locally with perfect fidelity. You can copy this code exactly once it leaves the repository. It does not matter if you are in a sanctioned country or have been cut off from global supply chains. The ability to run powerful AI no longer depends on buying expensive servers or waiting for customs clearance of restricted chips. The technical barrier that export controls were built to maintain has simply evaporated, replaced by a digital environment where code flows as freely as water through an unguarded pipe. Quick resource note: I keep a curated set of Amazon search links in the description for books, gear, and tools relevant to this channel's topics. Some are affiliate links, so I may earn a commission at no extra cost to you. Please consider supporting the channel by using those links if you find something useful. The strategic dilemma facing Washington is now acute because the Department of Defense recognizes that restricting these models poses its own risks. A recent analysis from CSIS on defense priorities highlights a paradox. While closed systems are easier to sanction and control, they also centralize power in ways that stifle the diverse developer base required for long-term defense resilience. The U.S. military needs commercial AI innovation as a critical component of its future industrial base. If regulators restrict open models to only secure supply chains or limit distribution through state-level legislation like California's Senate Bill 1047, they risk consolidating the market in ways that could weaken their own ability to innovate rapidly during a crisis. This creates a lose-lose scenario for American strategists. On one hand, restricting openness hurts domestic innovation and makes the U.S. defense industrial base more fragile by relying on fewer vendors who might be vulnerable to disruption or capture. On the other hand, allowing open models means adversaries can bypass export controls entirely by running powerful capabilities on commodity hardware that falls outside restriction lists. The 2022 export controls targeted 4 specific technologies, yet they failed to account for the fact that code can be copied perfectly with zero friction across borders, regardless of physical location or ownership status. We are witnessing a shift from controlling the supply chain of technology to fighting over the distribution of code itself. In this new environment, openness has become the most effective loophole in modern economic warfare because it renders the distinction between domestic and foreign hardware increasingly irrelevant for capability deployment. Tools like OpenClaw operationalize this reality by enabling high-level AI functionality across any operating system without proprietary gates. This means an adversary does not need to smuggle a server farm or bribe a customs official. They simply download the weights, install them on existing infrastructure, and begin operations immediately. The implications of this shift are profound for future geopolitical conflicts. We are moving away from a world where states control the tools required to build advanced capabilities toward one where they only control the hardware itself. The race is no longer about who has the most powerful server farm or the largest number of restricted chips. It is about which state can best leverage decentralized open code to build asymmetric capabilities that sanctions cannot stop. If a rival nation can download an equivalent capability for free and run it on local resources, export controls become ineffective against actual capability development, even if they successfully slow down hardware procurement. This structural vulnerability suggests that the era of choke point sanctions is ending as we enter an age of decentralized proliferation. Future conflicts will likely be fought over software licenses and code repositories with the same ferocity that current debates focus on oil pipelines or semiconductor fabs. The inability to stop the flow of open weights means that containment strategies must evolve from blocking physical goods to managing digital access, a task for which no historical precedent fully exists. As we look toward 2026 and beyond, the question remains whether states can find new mechanisms to secure their strategic interests in an environment where information is inherently uncontainable. The launch of OpenClaw isn't just a software update, it represents the collapse of state control over dual-use AI technology. The incentives have shifted from who owns the chips to who controls the code, and that shift favors those willing to operate outside traditional regulatory frameworks. For curious observers watching these developments, understanding this dynamic is essential because it marks a fundamental change in how power flows through the global economy. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. I am a one-person team working hard to make each video better than the last. Subscribe if you found value. It is the best way to show support. Drop a comment with your biggest takeaway. See you in the next video.